ನಡೆಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜ್ಞಾನ ದೇಗುಲ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಆಹ್ವಾನಿಸಿ ನನ್ನ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ಯುವ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗೆ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ನೀಡಿದಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸರ್ಸ್ಗೂ ನನ್ನ ವಂದನೆಗಳು. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ನಗರ. ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಹುಟ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದರಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ಮೊದಲು ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ ಸೂಕ್ತವೋ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಬಂದಿರೋದು ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥೈಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಅರ್ಥವಾಗೋ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಸಿದ್ಧ. ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಭಾಷೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥವಾಗತ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟೀಕರಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಒತ್ತಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ಬಹಳ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಗುಡ್ಡಗಾಡಿನ ಹೆಗ್ಗಡದೇವನ ಕೋಟೆಯಿಂದ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರಕ್ಕೆ ನಡೆದು ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತೀರ್ಮಾನಿಸಿದ್ದೆ. ಭಾಳ ಸುತ್ತಕೊಂಡು ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು 420 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ನಡೆದು ಬಂದಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭ. ಸುಮಾರು ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಉಳಿದು ಬಂದು ದಿನನಿತ್ಯ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ದಿನ ಒಂದು 20-25 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ನಡೆದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇನ್ನೇನು ವಿಷಯ ಯಾರೋ ಹೇಳೋದಿತ್ತು. ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಿಸ್ತೇನೆ, ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಭಾವನಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಬಿದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲೂ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. 16-17 ವಯಸ್ಸುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕನಸುಗಳು ತುಂಬಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮನಸ್ಸು, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೊರಟಿರ್ತೇವೆ. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ನಾನು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಪಕ್ಷ ಅಂದರೆ 60,000-70 ಸಾವಿರ ಯುವಕರನ್ನು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಇಡೀ ಭೇಟಿ ಆಗ್ತೇನೆ, ಹಲವಾರು ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಅಂಶ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕನಸುಗಳನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥೈಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ತುಂಬ ಕಡೆ ಸಂಕಟ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ, ತುಂಬ ಯುವಕರಿಗೆ ಕನಸು ಅವರದ್ದೋ ಅಥವಾ ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಂದಿರದೋ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ನೋರಿಗೂ ಆ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸವೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಯಸ್ಸು ಕೂಡ ಇದು. ಹಲವಾರು ದಶಕಗಳಿಂದ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳಾಗಿ ನಾನೊಬ್ಬ ತಂದೆಯಾಗಿ ಆ ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಾವು ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋದಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತದ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋದಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಬಂದು ನಾನು ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿ ಆಗ್ತೀನಿಯಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಆಗ್ಲಾರ್ದು. ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಸಾಧನೆಗಳು ಅಂದರೆ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಧನೆಗಳು ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಾಧನೆ ಅಂತ ಅಳೆಯುವಂಥ ಸಮಾಜ ಇವತ್ತು. ನಾನು ತಗೊಂಡಿರೋ ಸಂಬಳಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಗ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಪಡೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆಯೇ, ನಾನು ಮಾಡುವ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಉಪಯೋಗವಾದಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ನನ್ನ ಮಗ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆಯೇ, ಹೆಸರು ಬರುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆಯೇ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನಿಸುವಂಥ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳಿರೋ ತನಕ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಅಂಶ ನಮ್ಮ 16-17 ವಯಸ್ಸಿನ ಯುವಕರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಂತವಾದ ಕನಸು ಕಾಣುವಂಥ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಬಂದಿರೋರಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಂತವಾಗಿ ಚಿಂತಿಸುವಂಥ, ನಾವೇ ತೀರ್ಮಾನಿಸುವಂಥ, ನಮ್ಮ ಭವಿಷ್ಯವನ್ನು ರೂಪಿಸುವಂಥ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಆಲೋಚಿಸೋರು ಕೆಲವರು ಇರಬಹುದು. ಹಲವರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮಂದಿರು ನೀನು ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ತಗೋ ಅಂದಾಗ SLC ಮುಗಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಬೇಡ 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 ಆರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ತಗೋ ಅಂದರೆ ಓಕೆ, ನೌ ಐ ಬಿನ್ ರಿಮೈಂಡೆಡ್, ನೌ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ bigger responsibility because they paid for my travel, so I have to listen to them. So I'll speak in English. These are the times when young people seldom determine what my dreams are, what do I dream about, and how do I go about accomplishing my dreams. I say this because I at least get 300 to 400 young American students every year who come and intern with me. I'm not making a comparison. And most of them are the age group of 17 to 20. The confidence is they come to India, a strange country, completely different culturally. The hunger with which they want to learn about our country, the courage with which they want to explore, sometimes I find sadly missing from our Indians. And I think it's the most important. So I thought, instead of talking about a degree in medicine or a degree in engineering, which anyway your parents would have told you all about, I'll speak something very different today. I'll speak something which is extremely relevant for every young Indian. I'll speak something which is extremely important for this world today, the world that we live in, a world where we don't know peace anymore, a world where harmony is a very distant word, possibly used in articles and in the English dictionary, a world where adventure is sometimes confused with sending a 9-month-old child parasailing. A world where the only way to settle an argument is through war. And so how do we, as young people, not only of this country, but of the world itself, prepare ourselves for what we want to shape? And every young person I meet, one thing is very clear. This is something not disputable anywhere in the world. Everybody wants a better place. Everybody loves to live in a world which is better than what you have inherited. So I would like to speak to you all on how do you prepare yourself for the extraordinary opportunity of making this world a better place. It's not a career. It needs to be a passion. And I think anything which is a career is unfortunately very small, very minuscule compared to what your passion can do to you and where it can take you. So I'll start off with my own narrative, my own story. ನನ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂತು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಬರುವಾಗ, ಸಾರಿ, what do I speak to you ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದೆ. I was just thinking, what do I speak to you? What do I share with you? Share with you things you would not know. Because I'm very sure whatever I speak today, 15 minutes you can go Google up and find out whether I told the truth or not. I have students in my class. I don't allow laptops and smartphones into my class anymore now. Because I'm sure, though my students say that they're focusing on what I'm speaking, they're focusing on the Facebook that is in front of them. So I realize now if I have to teach effectively, I better be on Facebook. That is why I'm on Facebook also. If I give my assignments on Facebook, my students are more sure to answer than if I give it in class. That's the world we live in today. And this being the reality, how do I secure, what do I say which can keep your attention on what I say? Then I thought maybe I'll start in my own life. Many years ago, I was traveling by train to Bangalore. And as usual, somebody sitting next to me asked me, what do you do for a living? It's a very difficult question to answer. Because I had never lived for a living. I just enjoyed life. Enjoyed life completely and fully at my own terms. And that is what I call living. Living on your own terms is what life is all about. And preparing yourself for that is what every young Indian, every young person in this world should do. Not preparing yourself to live somebody else's dream or somebody else's life. So what did I do which is so different from others? I became a doctor, just another doctor. So I had two options in my life. I did extremely well. That's what the Mysore University told. Those days Mysore University is what was running the exams, not the Rajiv Gandhi University. It didn't exist. I nearly topped my batch and just decided to walk away into a forest. My heart led me to something very different, an adventure which I have never regretted, an adventure which possibly has brought me to even come and speak in front of you. If I had just been another doctor, thousands of them are produced every year in Karnataka. I'm not even sure Deccan Herald would have noticed them. And I would like to again thank Deccan Herald in a very strange way, because the first article ever written in English about me in 87 itself was by Krishna Vattam in Deccan Herald. And those were the days when journalists would actually go out and stay there and then write. But these are the days when journalists call me up and say, email madbudi sir, bardbudtivi. So those were real doyens of journalism. And what did I do differently? It was nothing. I just lived with the people of the forest. And what I learned from them is what I'm going to speak to you all about. I learned from them how to live. And that's something our schools and colleges don't teach you. That's something our degrees don't give you. So starting off at 17, being ragged very badly in BMS Engineering College here, took away the courage for me to go to college itself. Proponents of ragging would say it was good. Defendants of ragging would say that is why you change your life. But then ragging is not something pleasurable to experience. And those days ragging was actually ragging. They would make your life so miserable that you would never want to go see the college again. And we had no anti-ragging law also those days. So I was so badly ragged, ಎರಡನೇ ದಿನ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟೆ. ಈ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ನನಗಂತೂ ಅಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಇದು, ಒಳಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಧೈರ್ಯವೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. And only option I had, coming from a very typical middle class family, obviously my parents had dreams of their own. They already had 2 children abroad, so they thought the next one also is flying, must be prepared to go abroad. And not having the courage to enter the college, not having the money to go sit in a cinema house, I chose the lesser of the cheaper of the options. And the cheaper option was to go sit in the Ramakrishna Mission beside BMS College. And that changed my life. That is the first time I ever read what this great icon of India. But I think every young man should read and begin his life with understanding India. Like Rajagopalachari said about Vivekananda, if you want to know India, read Vivekananda. And I would say the journey of your lives as you start now, something exciting and different, should start with the adventure of understanding Vivekananda. Why do I say it? The love that he had for this country, the love that he had for humanity, I think is the first prerequisite for any young man to prepare himself for global opportunities. If you can't love our fellow human beings, love them to the point of risking your own life, I don't think we are ready to make a change in this world. And that's the kind of dreams you must have. It's not about you becoming a doctor. It's not about you becoming an engineer. It's not about you becoming a lawyer. It's about constantly asking the question, am I preparing myself to make the world a better place to live in? And if you can answer yourself honestly, yes, that's your career, that's your life, that's your future. So this one day's incident of ragging took away the courage of mine to even go back to the college, sat in the Ramakrishna Mission for the next 2 months, got introduced to the world of Vivekananda and the dreams that he gave me about making this world a better place. I wasn't religious by any sense of the term. Spirituality was the last thing on a 17-year-old's mind. But what excited me were 2-3 sentences that he said. One was, I call every young man a traitor who, having been educated at people's expense, pays not the least heed to them. Look at the power of this statement. Today, every one of you is going to get educated or is already getting educated at people's expense. So it's much more than just a career, it's a moral obligation to be concerned about the world that we live in. And the second sentence he says, I do not believe in a God or religion which cannot wipe away the widow's tears or bring a piece of bread to the orphan's mouth. And what powerful statement it is. Any education that you get which cannot wipe away the poor widow's tears or bring a piece of bread to the orphan's mouth is no education at all. So this life-making, man-making, character-building education is what was a dream of Vivekananda, and not just degrees. And that appealed to me. I chose, then luckily I got a seat in medicine in Mysore Medical College. That's the last of Bangalore I saw. Went into Mysore, started this organization as a young medical student. Immediately after graduation, sought the forests of H.D. Kotte, lived for the next 3 decades with the people I love a lot, the indigenous tribal communities. People who are so far away from so-called civilized mainstream society, people who are quite happily entrenched in their kind of lifestyles. I realized after some time, what I was doing was not enough. Life takes us to positions where we lose the courage to even think of a second option in careers. So after practicing medicine and public health long enough, and I think it's extremely important. It's important because I would like to ask you all a few questions. What do you think Einstein was very popular for? Children today are trained not to answer anything. Kai kattu bai muchu anta helkododu ನಾವು. ಅದರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಯಾರು ಉತ್ತರಿಸದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥವಾಗತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ. ಆದರೆ very simple question. What I'm going to ask is not rocket science. It's very easy. What do you think Einstein was famous for? See, wonderful theory of relativity. What is the latest Rajnikant movie? Whatever, I can't pronounce it. Okay. How many Indians in the world today have access to safe drinking water? ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು. ಎಷ್ಟು ಸರಳವಾದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿದೆ. ಯಾವ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಬಂತು ನೆನ್ನೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಅದೇ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಜನತೆಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಶುದ್ಧವಾದ ಕುಡಿಯ ನೀರನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವೇ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಸದ್ದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಕಾಲ MCU ಯುಗ, ABCD, all of the above, none of the above. So one answer, you can guess. Our students are trained to answer MCQs. 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. We don't know. How many Indians have access to a toilet? We don't know. How many Indians you think less than 5 years are malnourished in this country? Isn't it a shame that the next generation of Indians aren't even prepared to even know the answers to this question, leave alone finding solutions to these problems. We aren't even preparing our children to know answers to these questions. How many members are there in Lok Sabha? How many of you above 18 actually voted? Few hands do go up. How many members in Lok Sabha? Who won yesterday's IPL match? That we'll know. Well, the point I'm trying to make is a sense of priorities we set ourselves at 17, 18. If a Tendulkar can become a master batsman at 14, if a Vishwanathan Anand can become a grandmaster at 15, if a Bill Gates can make $1 million at 19, I don't see why an young Indian can decide his future at 17. It's just that we aren't told we can do it. Today I would like to spend the next 15-20 minutes. You warn me when I shut down, Allah? 5 minutes before it. So before that, you just tell me. I can get carried away talking to young people. If we can. So I personally don't believe if you can decide who can be a boyfriend at 17 or a girlfriend at 18, you can pretty surely decide what should be a career at 17 or 18. And I strongly believe our young people are immensely capable. It is just that we don't bring them up in an environment where we can say, I too can. We always said, road class ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಅವರ ಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದುಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ ನಾವು. ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಾಗಿಂದ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಅಸಮರ್ಥರಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ. I would like to ask you to change all that. I think you're extraordinarily capable, immensely capable to decide that you are ready for the world stage. And what does the world stage mean and why is it important? We live in a world close to 7 billion people. We live in a world where close to 4 billion people earn less than $2 a day. Less than $1 a day. It's not much. We live in a world where more than 80% of the people find it difficult to earn even $2 a day. And here you are wanting to change this world, make it a better place. We still live in a world where millions are killed senselessly in the name of war, in the name of acquisition of countries and their properties. We live in a world where disease ravages young children who for no fault of theirs are left to die, only because they have no safe drinking water or immunization or something else. And I can tell you, all this can change. How can it change? It can only change by 3 very simple things. And these are not my words, these are words I borrow from Vivekananda. All you need is not an MD or an MPH or an MPA, about which I'll speak in some time. To begin the journey of a career globally, to make a difference, you need 3 things. The first thing is, ask yourself, do I have the heart to feel? Do I have the heart to feel for my countrymen, for my people around this world, who are subjected to such problems that it is unacceptable today that we have to live with it. I'm not even sure you understand that we live in a country today, despite 67, 68 years of freedom or post-independence, despite so many governments that we have seen in succession, despite so much of wealth being created in this country, even today, only 30% of us have access to a decent toilet, which we can call my own. 60% of Indians still don't have access to safe drinking water. I'm not saying water, safe drinking water. With all the benefits of modern science, we have the technology where one rocket in ISRO can launch 10 satellites. The moment a Prime Minister gets elected, ISRO releases a press release saying they're planning to invite him to watch the next launch. It's very creditable. We want young Indians to be scientists and engineers who can build those rockets and launch facilities. But I would also like our Prime Minister to visit that 60-70% India which doesn't have a toilet and explore why. And if you young Indians can find out why and solve that problem, I would call it a greater contribution to this great country of ours. That is the kind of feelings you need to have. Can you feel for the 80% of Indians who generate and control less than 1.5% of India's wealth? Can you feel for the 54% of our young children less than 5 years who are still malnourished even today? If you can, your journey to make a difference has begun. And mere feeling is not enough. The next H, the first H is the heart to feel. The next H, a pre-qualification for a global career, is the head to think. Can we then sit back and ask ourselves, what solutions can I deploy to answer all these questions? And these are very simplistic questions. 12 rupees a year can immunize a child completely against 6 major vaccine-preventable diseases. That's all it takes. You go for a coffee in Coffee Day, you spend 100 rupees today. We can change this world not with money, but with well-intentioned people who understand how to deploy that money. 25% of the world's poor lives in India, and you and I can do something about it. A career that can also fill our stomachs and fill their stomachs too. That's the kind of dreams you need to have, the strategy that you need to create for yourself in creating your future and shaping it in the years to come. So ask yourself, what is the kind of career I'm going to make? Today we live in a world, I can confess, my secretary is a dentist. I asked her, ಏನಮ್ಮ ಇದು BDS ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ನನ್ನ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ಯಲ್ಲಮ್ಮ ಅಂದೆ. She said, ಇನ್ನೇನು ಕೆಲಸ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ. I'm not exaggerating. We live in a world where we are preparing our children to do a job they are not qualified to do. She's neither a good secretary nor don't tell her that, nor a good dentist. We prepare people who are not employable at all because your heart is not there in what you're doing. And that is why I say, first find out your heart. Then ask yourself, what is it that I can do to do differently? What is the kind of career I can choose to choose differently? 40% of young undergraduates in the US, our higher education is a mess. A country which could boast of Nalanda, which could boast of Takshashila and all those great universities cannot even put a house in order for our young children today. 40% of young undergraduates who start their first year, the bachelor's programs are called undergraduation in the United States, change their major by the time they reach the third year. They understand that this is not my life, this is not my future. The system gives them the courage to say, I don't want to be what I took 2 years ago, I'll be something else. Can our education give you all that courage? That you start your life like me as a doctor, move on to be a different man. I did my MPhil in health systems management and suddenly realized I'm not able to find the answers to country's problems with that also. Whatever I do can solve the problems of 250,000 people in a corner of Eshikote. It cannot change the world today. It cannot change India today. It's not enough. There must be something else I should be able to do. And that's what took me to distant Harvard and started looking at public health, started looking at public administration, started looking at policy and asked myself, can I change the policy of this country in some way? Can I contribute to changing the policy of this world in some way? That one change somewhere up there can change millions of lives bottom below. That's the kind of dream you need to have. You can actually do it. It all needs to have the perspective to decide where you want to sit in the pyramid. Do you want to focus sitting there or do you want to focus being here? Being here is not wrong. We need foot soldiers also. But can you start your journey as a foot soldier of the dream that you'll go on to the top? For that, you've got to prepare yourself for global opportunities. The last H is the hands to work. You got to do it yourself. We got to challenge ourselves. This morning I asked Ravi whether what time are you planning to start? He said the timing is 10:15. And I looked around the room and saw how many young people are actually inside the hall at 10:15. And Nagesh very politely noticed me looking around and said, Sir, Bangalore alva traffic problem ಇದೆ. Traffic problem ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದಲೇ 2 ಗಂಟೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಹೊರಡಬೇಕು. That is the discipline and the hard work that you need to put in to reach where you want to reach. Instead of finding problems, instead of finding excuses that we can give for failure, as young people from today, let's look for reasons to succeed. That's the kind of India that we should look forward to. Reasons to make this a better place to live in. And the first thing that you would do is get the 3 H somehow in order. Heart to feel, the head to think, and the hands to work. The next thing you ask yourself when you go back home today, ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮಂದಿರು ನನ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆದಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಮುಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಭಗತ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೇಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಬೇಕು, ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೇಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಬೇಕು, ನನ್ನ ಮನೇಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಕೇಳೋ ಮಗ ಹುಟ್ಟಬೇಕು. ನಿಮ್ಮಪ್ಪ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಕೇಳಿ, ಆದರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಪರಿವರ್ತಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಸಮಾಜ ಪರಿವರ್ತಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಪ್ರಪಂಚವನ್ನು ಪರಿವರ್ತಿಸುವಂಥ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಉತ್ತಮವಾದದ್ದು. ಸಂಪಾದನೆನೂ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹೊಟ್ಟೆನೂ ತುಂಬುತ್ತೆ. And I'll tell you how. It's easy. All you need is a passion, like I said. Look around and ask yourself, what will empower me, equip me to start out this search for a global opportunity? The first thing I would say, shed. I write passionately in Kannada. I also write in English. I speak both languages very well. I love Kannada, but loving Kannada doesn't mean I hate English. There's a very big difference between the two. The first thing is language. The world today is driven by whether you like it or not, whether I determine it or not, whether I go to Supreme Court and file a case or not. The world today is driven by the language of English. And if you are not going to acquire proficiency in that, you are not preparing yourself for global opportunities. The three languages that you should know if you want to really make a difference in this world is English, Mandarin, and maybe Hindi. It is not even Spanish and French anymore. If you can learn Hindi properly, you will really make a difference, because India is the country where the world is going to come to. Global opportunity doesn't mean, ನನಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ನನಗೆ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಏನು ನೀವು ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡೆ. ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ಹೆರಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅವರು ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರು ನನಗೆ. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ, that's exactly what I mean. Global opportunity, my young friends, means working in India, because this is where the globe is going to be. Opportunities in India is where the world is going to look for. People are going to line up. I get 300 interns coming to India because they want to put on their CV, I worked in India, because tomorrow they'll get a job in India. And that is the opportunity you have to prepare yourself for. Otherwise, they'll take away your opportunities. We'll have another kind of colonization. A colonization which you can't control, because the world is going to be driven by economic considerations. And the man who produces the most for my company is what I'll hire. And not be patriotic about saying I'll give a job to an young Indian. So you better be ready for it. You better be ready to be in the forefront of change. And you be the person who can get those people to come and work for you, and you not working for them. I'm a leadership coach for quite a few multinational companies. And I'm very proud to tell you that the more I work with these multinationals, the more I find Indians in top jobs. Satya Nadella, Microsoft head adak chappale tattad saldu. Satya Nadella ಇನ್ಯಾರ್ದೋ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಭಾರತೀಯರಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನಾ ಥರದ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂಥವ್ರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ನೀವು. That is a global opportunity you need to look for. Not being proud that I'm working for somebody else somewhere, but being proud that I'm creating opportunities for people around the world to come and work for me and for my country. And we will get there. 10-15 years from now, you'll mark my words, you will make that India happen. Because that's the opportunity you have. That's extraordinary spectrum of opportunities you have been creating for yourself. I walked around the stalls and I realized that there are a lot of courses that you're offering. Wonderful. But there are a lot more out there that you can explore. And that's the power of Google and other things that you already have. Look at opportunities in public health. Within India, there are a lot of colleges offering it. In Bangalore, there are quite a few offering it. Make the best use of them. There are opportunities in public administration. There are opportunities in public policy. There are opportunities, anything that you do can be doing it for people. You can do a medicine degree, do a public health degree, and do a health policy degree again. You can do I'm sure Raghutam Rao will talk about it, so I won't take away his part of the topic. You can start your life as an engineer, satisfy your parents. Today we live in a world where 30% of students globally don't specialize and do a master's degree in the same subject as their undergraduation. So you can start your life as an engineer, start your life as a doctor for the first degree. Appa man tripti padisbidi, na maga doctor ada anta helibidi. But decide your second degree will be your heart, your passion. Decide your second degree will what will change this world. And you can actually do it. There is no degree which cannot prepare you for any opportunity in this world. I'm convinced. Whether you do a BSc or a PhD, if you have no heart in it, you can't make a difference. Start your life. You can be an automotive engineer, specialize in automotive policy, and decide how the world will change the world of transportation itself. You can start your life as a doctor and find solutions for non-communicable disease, which is a huge burden in India today. People are dying. Very strangely, it's also a world where things integrate. The number 2, number 3 cause of death in this country is nothing to do with medicine at all. It is more to do with policemen and transport engineers, because our people, we have more people dying on the streets of Bangalore and Mysore than have illnesses actually. And it takes away young people of your age. We can't afford to lose them. This morning, the government of Karnataka has released statistics that close to 350 people every year die in traveling between Bangalore and Mysore. And the average age group of these people dying is 30. How can we decide to lose these people? And doctors can't do anything about it. It is not about running a hospital to save an accident victim. It's about having transportation engineers, having policy planners who can decide how a road should be, how it should be aligned, who should enter the road when, who should exit when. This is having the political vision to say I will implement empirical evidence and not just do things that are politically convenient. Bangalore, Mysore, ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ 140 ಹಂಪ್ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಂದ ಮೈಸೂರು ಬರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆದರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇ ರಸ್ತೆ ಹಂಪ್ಗಳಿಗೆ. Science tells us it cannot be done, judiciary tells us it should be removed, but political will tells us it shall exist. And you can all change all that. Look at careers in politics. How many parents here will tell you go stand for an election? You can actually change the world and make it a better place. We want good people everywhere, and that's preparing yourself for global opportunities. The language of communication also will be the language of your dreams for the future to come. The spirit of enterprise, which is what is sadly lacking in Indians today. No college prepares you to experiment, innovate and achieve things. Look at every single thing that has made a difference to human life in the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whether it's the internet, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's the iPhone or it's a Samsung, ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಸ್ವೆಟ್ ಶಾಪ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ತಾರೆ. We don't innovate on our own. How many products we can actually get up and say we made it in India and the world copies it? That is global opportunity. If every engineer, every student here decides I am going to be an engineer not because my father asked me to, because I am going to innovate a product which will make this world a better place to live in, and other companies around the world will copy it and produce it. If you can do that, India has arrived. If you can build a car which doesn't imitate a car or a dream of abroad, but builds a car for Indian road conditions, which can run on fuel that you discover in India, then you have built a global opportunity for yourself. Have that kind of dreams, my friends, and that's what matters. All the technical advice of how to write a SAT exam, how do you write a GMAT exam, GRA exam, is there on the internet. I don't want to speak about it. Those are means to a global opportunity. Those are all opportunities of how to go and settle down in America. That is not what I came here to speak about. I came here to speak about how can you settle down in India and still rule the world. You can do it. You can travel around the world. I must have traveled around 30 countries in the world today. Only because they think I am different. ಕೆಲಟೆ ಹುಚ್ಚಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ಅನುಕೂಲ, ನನ್ನಂತ ಹುಚ್ಚಿಡ್ದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಮಾತಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. You can actually make a difference. I'm trying to tell everybody. I run a program called Leadership for Global Citizenship. Most of them are young students between 18 and 22 who have formed a cohort of people around the world. I have students from Israel to Istanbul to everywhere. Students who actually believe the boundaries in this world can disappear. Students who actually believe we live in this world and not in the place where your passport says you belong to. And if you can actually believe that, we'll make the 7 billion people around, people with all sorts of things that they can hope for tomorrow to happen. Drinking water, sanitation, a good job, economic considerations, political prosperity, all kinds of things that you can have, provided you build the people for that. So have a dream, have a vision of building people, and that is creating global opportunity. I can go on and on. I think I'm going to stop here. And if you have any specific questions about what are the programs, how do you go, which are the colleges, how do you do it, and how do you dream at the Kergadiya, that is up to you. I don't think I need to teach you how to dream. I'm sure you know more than that. And I'll be more than happy to spend the next 10-15 minutes or whatever they let me to speak on sharing with you. Thank you so much. I again thank all the organizers for having me here, letting me speak, and sharing what comes from my heart, and definitely not from my
heart. For all of us to be here. Thank you and hearty welcome to you. So even you,
So good morning. Extremely inspiring. I just want to thank you for one program that Swami Vivekananda has initiated, that is production of DVDs for students in high school. So we have established a small village knowledge center thanks to SVY, and I think they are the best on how to reach out to high school students. So my question is, how often do you actually visit high schools in rural areas, because that's where intervention can happen to transform minds?
Because we strongly believe that change can happen with building capacities, not by creating a system which is going to make it dependent on us. So I constantly warn my people that if you're constantly visiting project sites, then you're not done your job right. If you are determinedly building others and their capacities, then possibly you're doing something right. And so personally, I just visit maybe 40 schools a year, and may not be the same school the second time to visit. They visit more than 4,000 schools in Karnataka today, and they're making a huge difference. I believe, I was telling, and I would, Mr. Tilakumar is there, and I would make one request using this opportunity. This is an extraordinary program. unfortunately accessible only to children of Bangalore. If Deccan can in some way conceive creating this opportunity in this platform, science, and we believe that you have to make a difference, you got to look at rural Karnataka. 15 years ago, when the CET started, I got very interested. I'll tell you why I started the program. I found that I took the first 1,000 ranks in medicine. Our COVID came, very government Karnataka CET, first year. And adullu kuda, children of very rich parents who send their children to the city for 2 months before CET to a special tutorial and then get them to take the exam. So the real poor rural child is simply cut off from mainstream economy because he cannot get an employable skill today. And so we said, I can never take a teacher to rural Karnataka. Our rural teachers themselves don't know English. What kind of English can they teach? That's a reality. Let's not run away from facing a problem. Vivekananda said, or Einstein said so beautifully, you cannot solve the problem if you're looking at it in the same paradigm. The solution cannot be from the same paradigm. Have our own studio in Bangalore. If Microsoft can do it, why can't the Vivekananda movement do it? So we have a studio in Bangalore to produce material. The material goes to the child. And today, I have a boy in Mysore yesterday who's cleared the IIT. A boy from a very small, shows our rural children are as capable or as possible as anybody else. That is how it started and that's how it's spreading. I'm not saying we're making a huge difference, but for the child, it's a life-changing difference.
Thanks to Prajamani, reporter from Bangalore, he actually came and criticized us and considered that we need more and more subject of language.
ಸರ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಮೊದಲಿನ ಥರ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ ಊದಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಬೆಲೂನ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ತುಂಬಿದಂಥ ಬಲೂನ್ಗಳು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನೇನು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಆ ದಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಕಟ್ಟಿ ನಾವು ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಾವು ಅದು ಹಿಡ್ತಾ ಲೂಸಾಗಿ ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕಾ, ಟೈಟಾಗಿ ಹಿಡಿಬೇಕಾ?
ನಿಮಗೇನು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ?
ನನಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಲೂಸು ಬಿಡಬೇಕು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹತೋಟಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅವು ಹಾರಾಡುವ ಬಲೂನ್ಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು, ಆದ್ರೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತೋಟಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾವಾಗ ಎಳಿಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನು ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಒಂದೇ ಸಲ ಎಳೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನೆಲಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಗ್ಗರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯವೇನು? ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ
ಹೇಳಿ ಸರಿ. ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಹಗ್ಗಗಳನ್ನು ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬಿಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಸರಿನೇ. ಸಹಜವಾಗಿ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿ ಬಿಡೋದು, ಉಸಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಗ ಕೊಡೋದು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳು ಓದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು. ಎರಡೂ ಸರಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ನನಗನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಶಿಸ್ತಿನ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಬೇಕು. ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಶುಡ್ ಗೋ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್. ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತೆ, ಸ್ವಂತ ಕೆರಿಯರ್ ನಡೆಸ್ತೀನಿ ಪೇರೆಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿ ತಿಳಿಸೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅರ್ಥಕೊಂಡು ಅದರಿಂದಲೇ ಕಲಿಕೆ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳು, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೋ, ಪೋಷಕರು, ಅದೇ ಸತ್ಯ. ಆ ಸತ್ಯದ ಜಗತ್ತೆ ಅವ್ರ ಜಗತ್ತು. 12-13 ವಯಸ್ಸಾದ ನಂತರ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ವಯಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಆಥರಿಂಗ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಂತವಾಗಿ ತೀರ್ಮಾನಿಸಿ ಸ್ವಂತ ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನು ರೂಪಿಸುವಂತ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ವಯಸ್ಸು. ನೀವೇನು ಹಗ್ಗ ಕಟ್ಟುವುದು ಸ್ವಂತವಾಗಿ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಹಗ್ಗ ಕಟ್ಟಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ವಂತ ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ನಿನಗೆ ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ 12 ವಯಸ್ಸು ತನಕ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ ಹಗ್ಗದ ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವ್ರು ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದಾಗ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವಲಂಬಿತರಾಗಿರೋದೇ ನಮಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ, ನಮಗೆ ಅದು ಸಂತೋಷ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಚಿಂತಿಸುವಂತ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳು 3ನೇ ಹಂತದ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹಗ್ಗ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿಬೇಕು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಂತ ಬಿಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ತೀರ್ಮಾನದ ಶಕ್ತಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೆಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಅದು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಹಗ್ಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಎಳಿಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಶಕ್ತಿ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು.
The well-being of the human self, what has happened is there's a total breakdown in the consciousness. So what has happened is they are totally they have gone into the materialism. See, objects are talking to them, like the mobile phone, etc. What has happened is we have atomized in the being. Atomized in the sense there's no more the dualism of spiritual and mind. Because when you talk, because I have children, when I tell them about spiritualism, they think it is it's old fashioned.
60 ವಯಸ್ಸು ಮೇಲೆ.
Exactly. And what has happened is India is gaping at the Western world. So what happens is even our very lives, we have lost our culture. Advancing into materialism, this breakdown, this development has in fact brought in destruction to the consciousness. So how do you develop a child into a whole well-being? We have lost ethics. We are confused in morality and ethics. There's a lot of confusion in our education system. It's a conditioning. So what happens is we are just getting into the survival for fittest sort of a mode. There's no longer art to life. What Vivekananda actually spoke about.
I think the answer is you. The problem is you and the answer is you. I'm being very frank and candid. You means, as people, I'm a parent. Let me tell you my challenge. My son just completed 10th standard. I was looking for a college. And my requirement of a college is very simple in Mysore. A college which will teach. A college which will not run tutorials. A college which will have a playground. A college which will let my son enjoy his childhood and youthhood. A college which will have no base, no fidgets, no tutorials. After extraordinary search, I located a small college. 8 or 10 parents who believe in me, who simply put their children along with where I put my son. And I interviewed the principal, not wanting to know, he's a PhD, not wanting to know whether he's going to schools. I could have started a college. I run a master's program also. Option 1 was start my own college, but it will never end. I can't get an artificial world, but I live in the real world. The second question was, where do I find a place like that? I couldn't. Then I asked the principal, all the other principals, why is it that you run all these nonsensical children getting to IIT? I talk at all these IITs, so I know how many children are getting in there. Do you even know that 40% of children in IITs actually fail the first year in IITs? They fail in physics and maths. So they are not extraordinarily what we think we prepare them. They prepare to take an exam, crack an exam, not to learn physics and maths. If they learn physics and maths, they would be able to pass. So I couldn't find a college, and then I realized there's something wrong with the system. Not because the system is wrong, but because we are perverted it. You and I, from an engage in a child, we keep telling them engineer agಬೇಕು, doctor ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೆಯವನು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ IIT ಟ್ಯೂಷನ್, ನೀನು ಯಾಕೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ? 6ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಚೈತನ್ಯ and so-called all the organizations, it's a 5,000 crore business in Andhra Pradesh alone. Do you even know that? And the child starts at 6th standard. 5 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಎದ್ದು 11 ಗಂಟೆ ತನಕ ಓದಿಸೋದು. Do what you want in life. We want them to do what I want them to do in life. You have to change the paradigm. The solution is you. Live a life they can be proud to imitate. Make them proud imitating you. ಅಂತಾನೆ ನಾವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕರಾಗಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಬಂದು ಕೇಳೋದು. I live dishonesty and I want the world to be honest. 70% of Indians participate in collusive corruption. I don't want to wear a helmet. I take tribbles. My 2-year-old child and my 4-year-old child sitting behind on a scooter without wearing a helmet on the wrong way, and then come back.
Excuse me, sir. Can you come center?
Please come. Madam.
Deccan Herald Managing Director ಮತ್ತು Editor ಶ್ರೀ K.N. Tilakumar ಅವರು ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Thank you very much. Kumar, President, Medical Education, Gokula Education Foundation.